Now they're faced with a very real prospect of Donald Trump becoming the leader of the party, and it absolutely drives them crazy. They just cannot imagine sharing. Well, because he's an outsider. He's not them. He's not part of the club. He's uncontrollable. He hasn't been through the initiation rites. He didn't belong to the secret society.
Hey, Brett Live here. Is Donald Trump a globalist? That's what some people want to know. Is he an elite? Part of the Illuminati, a Bilderberger, and all the other crazy things that some of these high-level politicians and business figures are. Nothing sends me in that direction. Here's a prime example of campaign funding. Hillary Clinton at the top, Cruz in second, obviously Bush, he's out. He raised over $157 million. And this was months ago, folks. By the time we get to a general, it'll be in the billions. That's how much these guys will be bought. It'll be in the billions, guaranteed. Trump's at about $27 million. Everything tells me that's probably his own money, maybe a little bit on a loan. Individual donors, can't control that. So as far as funding, I don't see it. I don't see that he's a globalist. On the other hand, here's an interesting article. Undocumented immigrants in New York get ID cards to open bank accounts. Undocumented immigrants, so basically illegal immigrants, can get a bank account without being a legal citizen. I mean, this is insane, folks. No wonder the globalists and elites want to do nothing about immigration. This isn't just a Democrat or a Republican problem. Neither party will do anything about immigration, and that's because they are bought by the donors. It's not good business for big banks to stop immigration. Let's take a look at Trump's website here. His immigration plan's simple, plain and simple. Everybody's up in arms. It looks pretty clear as day to me. Immigration reform that will make America great again. 3 principles of Donald J. Trump's immigration plan, and the 3 are highlighted. A nation without borders is not a nation. There must be a wall across the southern border. A nation without laws is not a nation. Laws passed in accordance with our constitutional system of government must be enforced. A nation that does not serve its own citizens is not a nation. Any immigration plan must improve jobs, wages, and security for all Americans. Here's the debate with Trump and Jeb Bush on war.
I know so many of the people in the audience. And by the way, I'm a self-funder. I have my wife and I have my son. That's all I have. I don't have them. So let me just tell you, I get along with everybody, which is my obligation to my company, to myself, etc. Obviously, the war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake, all right? Now, you can take it any way you want, and it took Jeb Bush, if you remember at the beginning of his announcement, when he announced the president, it took him 5 days. He went back. It was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. It took him 5 days before his people told him what to say, and he ultimately said it was a mistake. The war in Iraq, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives. We don't even have it. Iran is taking over Iraq with the second largest oil reserves in the world. Obviously, it was a mistake. So George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty. We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
So you still think he should be impeached?
I think it's my turn, isn't it? I think it's my turn, isn't it? You do whatever you want. You call it whatever you want. I want to tell you, they lied. Okay. They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction.
All right. Governor
And he's had the gall to go after the World Trade Center came down during his brother's reign. Remember that.
This is just another prime example that Donald Trump isn't a globetrotter. On a national stage, he's condemning the Iraq war, questioning weapons of mass destruction, and 9/11. Something that Democrats, this isn't a partisan issue, Democrats and Republicans have swept this under the rug. Because the bottom line is, behind closed doors, people have talked about this. It's like WWF wrestling. On stage, they're arguing, they're fighting, they're slinging mud. But behind closed doors, they're the best of friends. They eat together, they drink together, and they all run around in the same circles. Let's take a look at somebody that personally I think is a globalist, and it shows that sometimes they come in sheep's clothing. Here's a tweet that Donald Trump sent out about Ted Cruz and auditing the Fed. It's so important to audit the Federal Reserve, and yet Ted Cruz missed the vote on the bill that would allow this to be done. Now, granted, they didn't have enough votes, but still, Ted Cruz has made it part of his campaign for both Senate and presidency to audit the Federal Reserve. You gotta show up. You gotta represent it. But again, he has big Wall Street bucks behind him. Let's not forget that. And let's take a look and see who's behind Ted Cruz's campaign. I mean, this is the biggest bombshell and red flag of them all that would show that he could be a globalist. Jeb Bush's brother and George W. Bush's brother, Neil, joins Ted Cruz's finance team. I mean, this is incredible. And if you need to know who Neil Bush is, you could go ahead and do a Google search. Neil Bush tied to firm that had role in land scheme. This was the Silverado savings and loan crisis. Just Google Silverado and savings and loans. Delay alleged in Silverado S&L closure, thrifts. The FBI was asked to probe whether regulators held off shutting down the S&L, where President, at that time, Bush Sr.'s son worked after the 1988 election.
And I appreciate your coming on, Neil. Brother to George W. Bush, and Jeb Bush has endorsed Ted Cruz, join his national finance team. So, Neil.
Another guy that's come out to endorse Ted Cruz out of the woodwork is Mitt Romney. I mean, these guys are not conservatives, folks, not true conservatives. And to better know Ted Cruz, we may have to look to Heidi Cruz. Ted Cruz again battles globalist charge against wife. Her term expired in 2011, Tyler said, and she was one of 31 members assigned to the task force that produced the Building a North America Community. Sounds pretty harmless, right? Well, the vice chairman of this group of 31 in 2007 wrote a best-selling book, The Late Great USA, The Coming Merger with Mexico and Canada. Pastor was dubbed the father of the North American Union for the influence of the CFR report had on a tripartite summit meeting between the heads of state of the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. The meeting culminated in President George W. Bush declaring without congressional approval the formation of the Security and Prosperity Partnership of North America. I mean, come on, guys, this stuff's plain as day. Let's look at Heidi Cruz's background. Senator Ted Cruz met his wife, Heidi, while working on the George W. Bush presidential campaign of 2000. Heidi Cruz is currently head of the Southwest region in the investment management division of Goldman Sachs & Co., and previously worked in the White House for Condoleezza Rice and in New York as an investment banker for J.P. Morgan. Heidi Nelson Cruz, as an investment banker and a historical member of the Council on Foreign Relations, CFR. Heidi Cruz was a member of CSR-sponsored Independent Task Force on the Future of North America, which was launched in October 2004. The task force advocates a greater economic and social integration between Canada, Mexico, and the United States. As we wrap this up, let's take a look at Donald Trump talking about campaign funding, lobbyists, and some of these other big politicians out there and the money they're bringing in. It's really simple, folks. The more money you raise, the less positive impact you're going to be able to have on the American people.
All of that money that's going to Hillary and Jeb and Scott and Marco and all of them, the people that are putting up that money it's like puppets. Bing, bing. You saw that. They had it on Jimmy Fallon. I better not do it anymore. The bing, bing, bang, bang, boom. I was imitating puppets, and I said, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. But it's true. They're totally controlled by special interests, lobbyists, and donors. They're totally. When a guy gives $1 million, and much more than that, some give much more, but do you think they're talking about, like, nothing?
He hasn't been through the initiation rites. He didn't belong to the secret society.
Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And always remember, do we work for the government or does the government work for us?